David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another fountain pen review. Over the last few years, the Italian retailer Stilo Stile has partnered up with Leonardo on special limited edition models for both Fountain Pen Day and Black Friday. If you are watching this video on the day it is posted, it is Fountain Pen Day, or the day before Fountain Pen Day, so you can safely assume that it is the Fountain Pen Day offering that I will be showing you. A look at the Black Friday pen will come later on this month. For the pen at hand, it is a Radius Settimo. If you're not familiar, Radius is another brand by Leonardo, and the pen is called the Radici. What I'm going to do today is go over the parts and feature of this pen themed around beginnings and origins. I'll talk about what I care for and what I don't care for about it. I'll show some measurements, size comparisons, and provide a writing sample. So, in order to get a closer look at this Fountain Pen Day selection, please join me over here at camera 2. Now, I will say that in years past, I would buy myself something special on Fountain Pen Day. It's very close to my birthday, so I like to treat myself to something a little bit nice at that point in time of the year. I've actually placed an order for something. It's a specific thing that you see in just about every video, but I need an additional one, and it's a little bit pricey. Maybe you could guess what it could be in the comments. But for now, let's focus on something which is more reasonably priced, which comes in this box here. This is Radius, and you can see here inside we have a couple of things. There is some marketing information for Radius, and then there is the warranty information in a couple of different languages. And then here we have the actual box, and inside the box we have a pen. Let's go ahead and take this medallion off, a little Radius medallion. And this is the Radius Settimo Radici. The word radici actually means roots in Italian. It's derived from the Latin word radix, which translates to root as well, but it kind of means more like the origin or the source which everything begins and grows at. I do like this material. I will say I'm not a huge fan of tortoiseshell material, but what sets this apart is kind of, we'll call it the hovering gold flake that's in here. And it just adds a bit of extra depth and another layer of color to this design, which I care for. So I really feel that that kind of gold flake-ish color is what really sets this material apart. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the parts and features of this pen. As I mentioned previously, that Radius is an offshoot of Leonardo. It was a historical brand, and that they base all of their models on their historical models as well, and those old designs. So they're not creating brand new things and just slapping a name on it, that they have some tie to the original company as well. Let's start by taking a look at the top of the cap. You can see here that it comes to a rather dull, rounded point. Dull as in not sharp, not interesting. And then the cap angles up until you get to the end where the band is at the thickest part. And I do like that you can see through the band and you can get a glimpse of the material underneath there. I just think that that's a nice touch rather than having it not be see-through. And then it angles down slightly, and then there's pretty much a smoother or not a smooth transition, but a small transition from the cap to the barrel. The barrel actually angles up just slightly, so I think the thickest portion of the barrel is right about here. And then it slowly tapers down, and then even angles down more at the very end. And like the top of the cap, there is a rounded, pointed point at the end here. The cap twists off with one rotation, and underneath we have the number 6 stainless steel nib. This one is gold plated and has the gold color on here. And I think that that matches better with the brownish and amberish color of this pen. You can see it does say Radius and Superior, and then 1934, which was the origin date of the original Radius company. And then here's a look at the plastic feed. The section begins with a slight flare, and then it angles up. I wouldn't say that the section is overly long before you reach the threads, and then a very even transition to the remainder of the barrel. I do find this pen to be plenty long enough to use unposted, that it does post, and I don't find the cap to be overly long or overly heavy, so it posts very nicely, and this is not a sharp transition here that rubs up against your hand, so if you like to post pens, then it certainly works well. Even though this is a shorter section, I find that the threads don't get in the way, and I do enjoy the thickness of this section, and even though my grip kind of spills over onto those threads, it doesn't bother me in any way. So even if you grip the pen a little bit further back, that I don't feel that that is an issue. This is a cartridge converter pen. It accepts standard international cartridges, and a converter is provided. With the metal that is here in the section, then I would not recommend eyedropping this pen. Okay, this is a limited edition of 220 units. Now, I'm recording this a little bit early, and I believe this is the final price. I believe it will be right around 185 euros, which equates to $215. But then with the Fountain Pen Day 10% discount that Stilo Stile is offering, the discounted price will come down to about $190. First of all, it's my understanding that no code is going to be required, that the 10% discount will automatically be applied at checkout. And the real important thing is that that price includes tariffs. So you won't be hit with any additional charges. Shipping is free for orders over about $100. So that $190 price will be all that you end up paying. Now, these are certainly uncertain times when placing orders internationally. Will there be tax? Will there be tariffs? Stuff like that. It's nice to be aware that the price you're paying is all-inclusive and that there won't be any surprises. Now, that's in regard to shipping to the U.S. I can't say I'm an expert when it comes to importing items into other countries like Canada. So, okay, now it's time to take a look at some measurements, some size comparisons, and then we'll come back with a writing sample. Here we go with some size comparisons for the Radius Settimo Radici. In regard to a couple other of Stilo Stile's offerings, there was the Andromeda. I just really loved this purple color that really gave you an idea of deep space. And then there was a recent one, which was the Polydrica Desiderio, which has the triangular pattern on either side. And again, kind of just a deep space pattern that I really enjoy. And then finally, we had the Cometa, which is another one of my favorite Leonardo and Stilo Stile models. I just think, especially the matte finish on this particular model, just looks fantastic. And so that's what those three look like together. In regard to some other pens, we have another Radius Settimo, and this is mine that I produced. This was the Blue Flame that we produced, what was it, a year and a half ago, something like that. And it has the PVD coated nib on there. I just was really pleased with that project and thought it turned out well. And then in another example we have here is the Pilot Vanishing Point. And then in regard to projects, I do have my Montegrappa Aurora Borealis. This was one of my latest projects, and I do have two of these left. So the inventory is extremely low on these, and once those two sell, then they will be gone for good. So if it's something you're interested, then I would recommend checking out my site. This material, which was made by Tim Crow, actually glows in the dark a little bit. So the green kind of glows in the dark, and it's meant to represent the Aurora Borealis. You can see here it has my logo here on the other side, as well as the Montegrappa logo. And then we have the darker nib that's on here as well. So if you're interested in that, like I said, there is literally only two left. Check out my website, because once those are gone, those will be gone. In regard to size comparisons, here it is with that Montegrappa, And then here it is with the Momento Zero from Leonardo. And here it is with the Polydrica from Leonardo as well. Here we go with the writing sample for the Radius Settimo. And this is the Radici, R-A-D-I-C-I. This is a medium stainless steel nib. And the ink I'm using here is a brown that I enjoy, which is Monteverde Pumpkin Cake. This is what the ink looks like. It's kind of just like a more earthy brown, as opposed to something that's a little more red, like the Private Reserve Copper Burst, or even something like Diamine Ancient Copper, which is one of my favorites. This is what the bottle looks like. This bottle was part of their Sweet Life set, which I highly recommend. They had lots of really good colors in the Sweet Life set. They had something like Cheesy Danish, and then Blueberry Muffin, and then probably my favorite of the group was this Strawberry Shortcake, which is a real kind of pinkish red that I enjoyed, which is really nice. If you ever had a chance to pick up that Sweet Life set, it's well worth it while, and there's some really nice inks in it. And here we go with the rest of the writing sample. I find this medium nib to be very pleasant. It's almost on the broader side of medium, which I enjoy. Even if I push hard, you don't get a lot of line variation out of here. I'd say the ink flow is decent. It's on the medium side. And in regard to reverse writing, it's a little sharp and inconsistent, but it did lay down a nice extra fine line. And then in regard to some fast writing, the feed keeps up well. So there we have the Radius Settimo Radici. If you're not familiar with the sales for the limited edition pens that Stilo and Stile produce, they do go quickly. And they have a tendency to not stay around for very long. So if this is something that interests you, now that this video is posted, they are currently on sale. And so I'll put a link in the notes below, and I would highly recommend checking out their site sooner rather than later, because inevitably these will be gone and will be gone forever. You know what? I didn't mention it as I was going over the parts, but here on the back it is engraved with Stilo and with Radius and Stilo and Stile, and then the actual number of the pen. This pen is number 11, but there are 220 that are in the limited edition. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.